Hi, my name is Mirko. Thanks for sticking around. Welcome to day one of AWE. Next up, I want to introduce Alex from Mousepack and Patrick from Snapchat to talk about AR shopping and how to create realistic AR try-on experiences for Snapchat and beyond. Please join me in welcoming to the stage.
Thank you. Just want to start by saying thank you to everybody. I know this is a very late session and what has been a very busy day one at AWE. Don't worry, we have happy hour in less than an hour. We'll get through this, okay? Just a quick introduction. My name is Patrick Hadley. I am an AR shopping technology PM at Snap. With me on stage is Bradt. He is the founder of an AR studio called Mousepack. They have been a partner with Snap since 2020, and Alex has worked on lenses for Disney, ESPN, as well as HBO's House of the Dragon, so he's a very established creator. Today we'll be demoing creating a virtual try-on shopping lens using our Lens Studio tool. Shopping is actually a very critical part of AR. In fact, 6 out of 10 consumers say that shopping is the #1 reason to use AR. And we've seen this at Snap. We've had advertisers successfully use our multiple AR capabilities in order to reach the 250 million Snapchatters that are using AR each and every single day. They use it to play, to shop, and also to express themselves. And we're continuously innovating in our capabilities. In fact, earlier this year, we launched live ray tracing for mobile devices, and Lens Studio is the first to the world AR creator tool that allows you to have this capability. And we'll actually be seeing it in the demo in just a minute. Let's talk about Lens Studio and our applications. Lens Studio is more than just a powerful AR creator tool. It also gives creator access to our more than 375 million monthly active Snapchatters globally with just the click of one button. But publishing from Lens Studio is not just limited to Snapchat. We also have the ability to publish to your own website and native mobile apps through our Camera Kit SDK. In fact, earlier this year at our Snap Partner Summit, we announced the AR Enterprise Shopping Suite, which is ARIES for short, that is being used to support brands such as Gooder, Mad Happy, and Farm Rio, and brings our AR experiences as well as Snap's AI technology onto their own shopping experiences and sites. In total, we've had over 5 trillion views of lenses and experiences that have been made in Lens Studio, which I think is just an incredible feat. Taking a look, this is one of the lenses that we'll actually be demoing. Hopefully with this you can see the power of Lens Studio in terms of its ability to have accurate placement as well as very kind of realistic high quality rendering. So I'll turn it over to Alex who will walk you through kind of the demo.
Hello. So we're going to be showing off a few things today. First, we're going to be showing off our new earring template. So in this template, there's some pre-existing assets, some realistic chain physics so you can move. The necklaces can bounce off the neck. So we'll show that exactly. You can touch it with your hand. And we're going to show you different earring landmarks. So that's pretty much all the different areas that you can put it. Some people have it on the lobe. That's a very common area. But if you want to get more specific, we'll show you where we can do. Ray tracing. So this one's really exciting. I'm going to show it off at the very end. It works really good for mirrors, reflections, anything that's very premium, high class. You can see it in the legs there, how it's sort of reflecting the buildings around it. And then gem rendering. Gem rendering is just a very cool way to have all the edges hit and show light in sort of a realistic way that a diamond would look in a jewelry setting. So I'm going to switch over, if you guys would just bear with us for 1 second, and we're going to go straight in to a live demo. So enjoy the ride. I'm open to answer any questions that you guys might have at the end or in the lobby afterwards. So this is the template that I mentioned. This is new. We've had an earring template for a while, but this one is upgraded. So the first thing that we're going to show off is that you have the different ear locations. So on the right side, you can see that they're both set up for the lobe. And if I were to look at this, I can see that it automatically occludes to my head. So when I turn my head, it'll disappear. And we also have that happening with the hair tracking. So you can move it around. There's just a little drop-down menu here to put it in the different locations. You can even double them up, put 2 earrings on 1 ear, maybe have one on the lobe, one on a higher area. There's just a lot of different types of manipulations you can do with that asset. You can put your own asset in, and like you see here, it has that occlusion just automatically hooked up, ready to go. So anything can go in there pretty simply. So yeah, I'm gonna put just a studded earring to show off sort of the gem rendering. So I clicked and dragged up a new little earring. You can see it right there, but the placement, I need to set it with the ear binding. So once it's in its location, you see I have it in the hierarchy up there. There's the presets, but I have the studded earring. I just zero out the locations to make sure that it shows up in the correct location on the ear. And then I'm gonna go sort of just do minor manipulations to make sure that it's in the right spot, it's in an appropriate area. And then I'm gonna go ahead and grab a gem rendering material. So once you put that on the asset, I just click and drag it right on. You'll see that it changes colors right there. And if I show the preview, it sparkles and shines and catches the light in a really nice way. So you can do that for pretty much any asset that has sort of those hard ridges to it. And obviously, the more that you have, the more reflections you can get from that. So this is the carousel. You can see that as you swipe through different earrings, you can have different types of earrings that show up. You can put any earring that you want, whether it's custom or not. There's also this cool zoom feature at the top. You can see when I flip my head, it automatically zaps to the left and right side. And then it has a little touch sensor, so you can, if you have things that you want to look around and zoom in on, especially with assets or earrings that are smaller or maybe more studded. So I'm going to be able to show you how to manipulate this and be able to add your own assets into it. But you can also change this zoom function part here. So you can make it bigger or smaller, or move around your UI elements. All of that's baked in, but you can swap it out with, if you have branded elements, or it's something that the client has a very specific look. You can go in here. There's a lot more settings that you can make it more circular or change it, put it on the bottom. But it carries all of that zoom functionality in there. So whether it's looking at the face, the ears, the neck, wherever you want it to be, it can go, or you could just kind of get rid of it completely. We also have, you can see here, I turned on the hand collision, so you can see that you can actually physically touch the earrings. So after you set up the physics in that system, you can do all sorts of fun stuff with it. So I'm actually going to import my own earring. This is one that I created just to show you how to do this from scratch. So I'm importing the asset to the way that you would do with any FBX file, GLB. You can see it's giant in the scene right there. So I'm just going to take only what I need. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the extra container there and just make sure that I rename it so that I know what I'm looking at. So this is the custom dangle, is what I'm going to call that one. And you'll see why. I'm going to add something called, first I'm going to add the ear binding. So that's just the component that lets you stick to the left or right ear. So you can see once I set the cameras to the right spot, it's hiding behind her head right there. But if I change it to the other ear, you can kind of see it because it's a bit translucent. But like I said, I'm going to take a gem material. This time I'm importing from the asset library that's handily built in. I can just go ahead and take that gem material and click and drag it right on top. So this one's a pretty cool example. You can see how the light kind of reflects a little bit. Once I put on physics, you'll see the full functionality of that. But it's really cool the way that it picks up light and just kind of lets it bounce off in a really nice, shiny way. And it's super easy to do. So I'm going to make, this is what's called a scene object, because I'm going to be making two the way that this template sets up. I just need to make sure that it's replacing the middle one there. So now if I scroll to my new asset, it's taken the spot of that middle one. So I'm going to go ahead and add physics to it now. So I set up the asset in a separate program in Blender so that it has little joint chains on it, meaning little bones that tell it where to pivot and where the next pivot point is. So I'm digging down into my hierarchy here, and you'll see I'll click the top one, so realistic hook, and then those 3 down there form a chain. So I click the top one. It gets all weird because I didn't finesse the details, but once I go in here and I say how much I want the shape to be, how much I want the hinge to be, you can see it's starting to manipulate and it's starting to figure out exactly how I want that to set up. You can see in the debugging down here, it's kind of hard to see, but there's little boxes around each of the pivot points, and that shows you exactly, see that's too big, obviously, but if you get it to the point where it just feels right and it's finessed, you can get something that kind of flops around pretty easily. So that's one earring. You can see also that it kind of, I'll have a better example later. I was having too much fun with it. But it actually collides with the neck, so you can do necklaces and have it realistically set up at that location. So yeah, you can see right there, it was really simple. I was able to just duplicate it, click the ear binding from left to right, and now I have a custom set of earrings. With that gem rendering, which is really nice because it definitely catches the light in a very unique way and lets it just bounce around and be a bit more realistic. So now I'm just going to go into my carousel. That's the last thing I have to edit. I have just imported an asset that I can go ahead, and you see the preview down here. Click in the carousel. I'm just swapping out that first one there, and boom. So you can do that with any type of asset. It doesn't necessarily need to be earrings for this example. Obviously, we wanted to make the best earring template, so that's sort of where that goes. And then you can see up here, I'm just going to show, I'll show that a little bit more, but that's how easy it is to set up the ray tracing, is that you literally just check a button, and you just apply it to your scene. So you'll see once I push it here what it looks like to your phone. So you just go up there, yep, and then there's me in my backyard trying to get some sunlight. There's also a good example of how the ear, watch the hair when it goes in front of the ear. We can show you some better examples of that, but we're working on a new form of hair tracking that segments the earring. So this is me doing it from scratch now. So I'm going to do it again. Same thing, one more time. So you can see I went from the top. I just got an ear binding. I went ahead and put a sphere on there so you can see everything's already ready to go. It's already doing that occlusion for you. You don't need to set up anything fancy. You can move it around to the different ear points. It's all the same, and it's zeroed out, ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and import a little silly stud is what I called this one. So it's just a little mouse character. So you can see that when I just take that asset and I drag it into the ear tracking and I zero out all the numbers here, that's just going to give me that perfect little tracking that we're looking for. So you can see it's right there, and I'm going to turn off that little sphere. And it's kind of sunk in the ear, so you're just going to finesse it a little bit, move it out. Move it to a place that feels comfortable for you, and it's still tracked to the ear location, so you can still move it around and have that be ready to go. Again, with a head occlusion, which I think is a nice little touch. We're going to go ahead and duplicate that, but this time I'm just using the ear binding. I'm going to be setting up another physics rig, and I'm going to show you how to set up the chain physics, but then also how to set up a hand collider so that you can touch the objects that you have set up. So I'm going to go ahead and import this little cat on a ball of yarn, which I thought was a cute little idea for a dangly earring. So I'm going to go ahead and import that asset. You can see it's just kind of standing in my scene right there. I'm going to get rid of, I'm going to rename it. So this is cat dangle. You can see I have all the hierarchy set up. Boom, goes right to the ear. So it's set up to be on the ear itself. You can see right there, it's tracked to the head. And if I turn it on, it just kind of sticks out. And it also has that occlusion set up. But we want to do physics. So again, it's set up the same way with the joint rig that I mentioned before, that each of the points that I want it to pivot at are set up to pivot. So I'm going to go in. I'm going to find that joint chain. I'm just going to dig down for it, and you can see there's the 3 right there. I'm going to click the one at the top, and then I'm just going to drag down my settings here. And again, I'll turn on the debug in a second so you can see exactly what these are. But these are just adjusting how big those colliders are. So you see that the little radius around its tail. You can see that when I bring the size down, the collider gets a little tighter. You want it to be as tight to the character as possible so that it feels more realistic. So you can see it swings around there, and all the pivot points are nice and set up. So you can turn that off, go ahead and just duplicate it, which is the easiest part. I'm going to rename it just so I know what this is. So just putting it on the right side, go over here to the ear binding, boom, put it over to the right side. I'm going to rename this one left just to make sure I know for continuity's sake. And there you go, moving it around. I got 2 little cats dangling off my head. So that's fun, but if you want to add interactivity, you can add hand tracking, which is a fun asset that's available in the asset library. So you could just type in hand. There's a few different options here, but I want the one that's specifically for the physics. So you just click it, one button, import it, and you'll see that it just appeared into my resources down there. If I click and drag that into my camera, it's just going to be on. So you see that hand is in the scene there, but you'll see when I turn on my camera, it actually is tracked. And that's just for debugging to show you how it works. So the objects will ricochet off my hand. You'll see when I put it in front of the cat, it occludes it. So you can sort of hide things behind it just to add another level of realism. It's all about those little minor details that add up to something that's further. So I'm going to keep the debug on just so you can see where the hand mesh is. And then I'm going to turn on the colliders here so you can see what my hand is actually touching. So I'm going to turn on the colliders for both the left and right. And then you see when I touch those little boxes and they intersect with one another, they move around in a realistic way. So I don't know exactly what use case you would want to use that for, but it's just it's a fun option to have. Physics is something that Lens Studio does really well. There's a lot of really fun, easy applications that you can use for that. Yeah, see, I just have way too much fun when I set up a good physics rig. I'm just playing around with it. But yeah, so then the last thing I want to show you guys is ray tracing. So ray tracing comes down to materials. It's something you can set up pretty easily like I showed before. You just click in the menu and just click ray tracing on. So I'm going to try with this gold material here. Yeah, right there. Enable ray tracing. Boom. Takes a minute to reset up your scene. But I'm using a gold material because it's nice and shiny and reflective, so you'll be able to see it. I'm going to bring it down to something that's a little bit more gray. So, or silver, I should say. So I'm just clicking and dragging that on all of the different little elements. You can see that every part of the cat has a different mesh. That was just the way that it was created in its 3D program. So now that I have this little chrome cat, I'm going to make a mirror behind it. That's something that ray tracing does really well, is show reflections. So that'll be the easiest way for me to show you exactly what it's doing. So I'm moving that right behind it, and I'm going to track it to the cat. So it's stuck behind it. Imagine it's a little mirror that's sitting there. I'm going to put the silver material on it. You don't see anything yet, but then as soon as I turn on the reflections emitter and receiver, 2 little checkbox there, I'm going to be doing that on all the objects. That means, can it show up in a reflective surface, or is it emitting something that will show up? So I'm just turning both of those on for every single little piece in there. And then I go to my camera and then ray tracing check. And now you can see in there the cat is showing up in the reflection. So that's a fully reflective material. You can duplicate that. You can make 1,000,000 of them. You can make a bunch of little mirrors that go anywhere. You can turn up the noise of that mirror. You can put things in front of it that show up. The cat works as a mirror as well. So if you have something that you want to be reflecting off the cat, like a light or different colored boxes that don't show up, it's just a really cool effect that you can use for a lot of different things. I've seen people use the ray tracing material on buildings, and it's catching the light in the HDRI. I'm just duplicating it here, just putting it on the other ear. This is sort of the final step here, just having fun with it, playing with the mirrors, and yeah, and then I just go ahead and throw it on my face, and I don't know what you would use this for, but that is something I'm definitely proud of. Yeah, so that's in a nutshell what we're just trying to show off today. You can build it in the template that we have set up for you, and it's really well done. It's easy to add your own assets into it, or if you want to start from scratch, the ear binding, the ray tracing, and just being able to play around is really the fun of Lens Studio. It's a very low friction software, so prototyping is super easy to do. This is just the upload process, just showing you at the end. It's pretty simple. You just click upload. We have lens folders depending on if you're working with a client or you're working for yourself. You get a little preview in there. You can see that this is set up. I want it to go out to the public. You can set up all sorts of categories, tags, if you want it to be a character or you want it to show up for a specific campaign. And then once you're done, you're ready to go, you submit, and then in 20 minutes to an hour, it's live. So that's it. That's all.
Yeah, and just a takeaway, I mean, we threw a lot at you in a very short amount of time. I think this video was 17 minutes, and we went through 4 or 5 lenses. Hopefully there's 3 key takeaways that you guys have kind of from this presentation. 1, Lens Studio from Snapchat is a very powerful tool. 2, Snapchat's kind of on the leading edge of innovation. We're always kind of trying to innovate for AR as well as virtual try-on. And 3, using Lens Studio tool is not just limited to publishing to Snap, but you can use it to publish to your own websites and mobile apps. So we have an AR, you can scan this. It'll have both information about Snap as well as some tutorials on what we just showed you with Lens Studio, if this pops up. There we go. But also, come talk to us. We have a big lounge right in front of the main stage. So if you're interested, we showed jewelry, but we also have shoes, eyewear, makeup, apparel. We're kind of doing quite a bit for virtual try-on as well as other stuff with AR. So please come talk to us. I think we've got 2 minutes for questions, if anybody. Yeah, thank you. If we want to have one quick question, or we'll be outside, Alex and myself will be outside if you don't want to ask in front of the group.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.